Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in again today. I just want to come in leading in again into the Dark Moon ceremony happening this weekend and really speak to you about the journey and how we're going to journey and really the benefits of this dark moon process and why this is my favorite phase of the moon. And so the dark moon is the very last slither of the moon, of the light of the moon, barely visible to the human eye before the new moon. And this phase of the moon is really anchoring in and discovering the what we want to let go of, like what we are truly ready to shed, what is ready to be let go of, what is really ready to be witnessed in the darkness, and brought out into the light and be transformed and transmuted and let go of. And this is a constant cycle that we can go through each month and each year, and constantly moving through letting go of different things, and quite often layers of the same thing will be let go of. So sometimes we feel like we're constantly cycling back to the same thing that we've been through, and we can be so hard on ourselves to think I'm here again. You're kidding me? Like, I've dealt with this. I'm here again, really. And it really is a new layer to be kind to ourselves, and look at what is coming up as a new layer and a new aspect of what we're shedding and letting go of. And if we can be kind to ourselves in that moment, if we can be kind to ourselves when we realize that we are back where we thought that we had worked through, and I've been here before, and really I have to move through this again, to understand and be kind to ourselves that this is a different layer. We're getting deeper this time into almost have a sense of peace, that we are here to delve in deeper and let go of even more, that the opportunity has been presented to shed another layer of this shit, of this bullshit, of this story that I keep telling myself, of this situation that keeps coming up, of why this keeps becoming presented to me. Like, why does the same situation keep happening? Why do I keep seeing the same results? Why is the man that keeps showing up in my life, even though he has a different face, why is the outcome always the same? Understanding, going deeper, allowing ourselves, not shutting it down, not spiraling into closing off of the emotion of what that is, because that is just locking it even deeper into ourselves and locking it even deeper into not being able to access it. And that's when it can fester, and we can hold on to bitterness and resentment, and then that can just spiral into guilt and shame over ourselves, that we don't know how to create a better reality for ourselves, that we don't know how to get out of the spiral that we've created for ourselves. And so sometimes it can be a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy when we are so very aware of our patterns, but also not aware of them as well. And so this dark moon really allows permission to go deep into the wounding that we carry with us. And there can be only a few core wounds of rejection, deep suffering, and deep guilt and regret and shame, these heavy, heavy emotions that can be linked to multiple events. But really understanding how and why we store these emotions in our body and in our mind, and where we lock them away and where we hold on to them in our body, and what organs suffer, what parts of our body suffer through the tension that we are holding on to, guilt and shame and regret and bitterness and resentment and more resentment. It's a big one for me. Bitterness and resentment are my ones that I go into a lot. Definitely guilt and shame, regret and anger. And there's a lot of anger, but underneath anger is everything else. So if you're feeling a lot of anger, it's really important to take time to sit with yourself, or find someone who you find safe, or a practice, or coming into like my ceremony or someone else's ceremony that calls out to you, where you can feel safe to go underneath the layers of anger and find out what's truly underneath that, because underneath that will be a layer of shame or grief, resentment, and different layers of bitterness and suffering. So anger is really a surface, and it's a masking for what is really underneath that. And so taking time to look at this and journal, and finding the prompts in your life of where you are really feeling these undesirable emotions and undesirable ways of being that we project out onto the world. We project them back onto ourselves through gaslighting ourselves. And we project them out through gaslighting others, creating assumptions around others' behaviors so that we can mold them into what fits our narrative for our life and our story, and what that looks like. So trying to define what those are so that we can move through them. And this is everything that I've been doing in self-analysis, and looking at where I've fallen off the wagon, where I've been not an ideal human, where I have not been nice to myself, and therefore not being nice to other people as well, because I have been in a spiral of despair and not well in my mind. And so it's looking at all those things when we can, when we feel more stable and whole, and we're able to do a bit of a review. And so my review, your review can look like piecing together events after the fact, which unfortunately is a bit easier than when you're in it. But when we come to the self-awareness and we move into these realizations and understandings, and then we understand how and why we did the things that we did, how and why we said the things that we said, why we reacted, responded away, if we were feeling attacked by the way someone approached us about a situation, if we then felt defensive, if we defended ourselves, if we attacked them back, if how we are reacting with other people, is all what we can look at after the fact, and hope that it doesn't happen again going forward. But it really is important to sit down and take the time to look at ourselves and analyze and break down and understand and meditate on, ruminate a little bit within that, and let come up the emotions that need to be purged, so that we can move through them. And so the journey that we go through with doing the dark moon process with Inanna, and it's come up as well recently with a friend who is very intuitive, that Kali is calling out as well to come through the process with Kali Ma, and to ask Nicola about that. And so I will bring Kali into the journey as well. So we will journey with both of them too. And Kali Ma is very much about like breaking down the ego death, removing the perceptions of self where we are maybe idealizing ourselves, and even maybe thinking that we are above the mistakes that have played out within our lives, because every aspect of everyone's words and actions play a part in everything. And so to think that we are not a part of that as well, as part of the ego, and as part of the if you believing or thinking that we are not part of the problem as well. If you're part of the dynamic of something, then the dynamic is not ideal or harmonious or playing out in a nice way, then there is aspects to look at within every person that is playing a part in what is unfolding in family dynamics, in work dynamics, within everything, as we engage with the people around us. And it can be quite difficult to take that time to look at ourselves. And yeah, we don't want to be judging ourselves because we want to be kind to ourselves, but it's being aware of the mistakes or of the misunderstandings or the miscommunications, the aha moments around, oh my gosh, because I said that, and this person's view of the world based on their history, now I understand why that was taken out of context, or why that was amplified. So sorry, something just moved and I was wondering if there was an earthquake about to happen, but no. And so it's this taking things out of context, and it's trying to remember to keep things in the context of how things happened. And that can be hard because our memory plays tricks on us, and our memory likes to make us right and make us, make sure that we are shone in a good light in our own mind of what happened, or what the dynamic that's playing out, or why you have a bad relationship with your mom, or why you have a bad relationship with your dad or your brother or your workmate, or with your cat, with your dog. I've been working on my relationship with my cat because we get at each other. We push each other's buttons. And so, yeah, been working on harmonizing that relationship with my cat, who I call Carly, from Carly Ma. So she does pull me into line quite a bit. So this journey will be, and we don't want to be bringing everything up and looking at everything and feeling so bad about ourselves. We want to be kind to ourselves and gentle, and understand that we're always doing the best that we can, that we are inherently good people, that we are inherently kind people and want the best for the people around us. And that this communication breakdown that has just been happening a lot since COVID, since this dysregulation of the way that we are used to operating in the world, has really changed a lot. And I've been noticing that a lot. Journeying in that way doesn't always have to be on the dark moon. It's when things come up naturally for you to journal around them, to do tarot or oracle cards if you feel called to, if you have pendulum, or just to, have an insightful book that is really going to help you finding different things that make sense for you and are speaking your language, because there's so many different things out there, and there is so many things out there because everyone speaks, understands, and perceives quite differently. And some people around me feel like they're explaining things so clearly, and I watch other people not get what they're saying at all. And it's just like there's a lot of stretch within the realms of like understanding each other and being on the same wavelength, right? We were on the same wavelength, so you really understand someone. And so that's like creating this rapport with people and being on the same wavelength and really understanding, tapping into and connecting with the people around you. That's something that I've been working on a bit as well, and understanding that. And so the journey for the Dark Moon ceremony will be together on Zoom for an hour. That could go a little bit over. I'm not doing recordings to send out just yet of them, just with all of the mechanics behind it, or the technical side of it, is a little bit challenging to say the least sometimes. And so that will be something that will happen eventually. But with these probably first handful, it will be for the people that are on the recording. And then that's all. And it's good because that's private for the people that are there. People can share what they're really going through, be witnessed, and have a transformation and have a release, and then move through that. And so, yeah. So bringing that in. There was something else that I was going to bring through. I think as well also is like just being very aware, that's come up for me this year, is our nervous system, and regulating the nervous system, feeling and noticing and understanding how the body responds to things that are happening around you. And if we are having something happen and we have an incredibly intense response in our body of like tremors or convulsing or throwing up from hearing information or learning something new, if we're feeling this, there's very much like a past programming that's coming through that is like needs to be cleared, because that response to something is like a huge dysregulation in the nervous system. And I've just like really learned about that this year, with my nervous system being really thrown out of whack with doing a quite intense bush walk and cliff face clinging and yeah, having a bit of quite an intense panic attack on the side of a cliff, where I nearly passed out. My body was like, I don't want to be here. My subconscious was like shutting down, and I froze, but I also almost let go of the chain that was holding me there, because there was no carabiner or clipped on to anything. So my nervous system from that point on was really dysregulated, and I didn't really understand what was happening to me. And so this brought this quite strong awareness in of how important it is to regulate the nervous system and be tapped into and understand what our nervous system is doing when we are engaging with other people, when we're talking to other people, when we feel triggered, when we learn new information that is dysregulating for us and affects us and makes us feel all these feelings in our body, is like so tapped into deep trauma that is stored and has not been released. If that reaction is coming up, and so with me on the side of a cliff, like there has been something happen in my past which I'm not aware of, that happened that caused that. I did have food poisoning a few days beforehand, and I'm not usually phased by heights, and I've been in quite high places in the last couple of weeks, and I've kind of tested my nervous system, and I didn't have any reaction or internal response. My nervous system was very calm, and I didn't have any flare-ups. So it was quite interesting to be aware of what our nervous system is doing when we are presented with new information, and how that is a process of pent up stored, buried trauma that is trying to come out and alert us to something that needs to be let go of because it's trapped in this feeling. So this is all, things that I'm learning and wanting to bring in more and more. So so please check out the link to book in for the Dark Moon ceremony. It's $9 for the Dark Moon ceremony. And then I'm also doing my past life regressions up through till the end of December at the $30 price. And that'll go up at the end of the year. So yes, lovely to connect with you. And if you have any questions about anything or you want to connect with me, I have my link tree around in different places, and the obvious places where you have links for that. So you can connect to my YouTube, you can connect to my Facebook group, my Facebook page, my Instagram. If you're finding this on different places, my website, all the different links are on there for Oracle and Tarot card readings. And all sorts of different things. So I've connect with you at some point. And I'm just going to sign off down here. Let's go down here.